The government is supporting a motion that would give Elections Canada more muscle to investigate fraud, but will it act after Monday's vote? 3 weeks into this robocall controversy, and reports keep pouring in over misleading calls beyond the epicenter of this controversy in Guelph that is being investigated. So do any of these developments warrant a broader investigation? Is the government about to change the Elections Canada Act? It's time to open the robo-file. And joining me now is the Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister, Dean Mastro, NDP MP Robert Chisholm, and Liberal MP John McKay. Good to see you all, gentlemen, in studio for a change. That's also nice. Dean Mastro, let's start with you. There are some reports today that there is another riding where there could have been misleading phone calls. York Centre, this is the riding where Ken Dryden was defeated by your new colleague Mark Adler. You have said previously that you can categorically deny that the Conservative Party was behind any of these kinds of calls. But at the same time, you say that there is something amiss in Guelph and that does need to be investigated. So how do you square those two things? How can you say that, you know, that there's something going on in Guelph which involves Conservative workers, certainly, I think we can agree, and that there are issues of other problems in other places? Is it not possible that there things happened in those places that the Conservative Party did or didn't know about?
Well, I think it's clear that a number of things went on in Guelph, and not all of which involve Conservative workers, but obviously there is in fact, we're not, there's been no conclusion to any investigation that's going on there. So I think we'll withhold judgment on that until that does come forward. But, you know, let's be clear. It seems we're playing a game of add a riding a day. Let's look at what was put forward in August. There was 30 complaints across the country on this. I think that there is, the Liberals yesterday on their webpage had up a site encouraging people to let them know. Don't let Elections Canada know. Come to the Liberal Party and, oh, by the way, send us a few bucks because we could use some money. So I think that this has become, you know, it's just partisan fodder in many ways. We encourage people, if they have any evidence, take that to Elections Canada. They've got a form that they've now established for people to fill out. We are aware of a number of contacts that have been in touch with Elections Canada, and they're following those up.
My point is, you can't categorically say...
Yes, I can categorically say that the Conservative Party of Canada had absolutely no involvement in any of the allegations that have been made by the opposition parties, and frankly, they have no evidence.
But Conservative Party workers, can you say the same for them?
I can say that the Conservative Party of Canada had absolutely no involvement. Any individuals that may have done anything
in any riding,
in any party, I should also say, that would in any way suppress a vote. We think that is a very serious charge, and we want Elections Canada to get to the bottom of it.
Let's just get to both of you. Do you think now that the investigations need to be official in other ridings, that these things need to be broadened out, given that we are seeing little, as Dean rightly points out, little ones pop up every day, examples of something strange happening at any rate? Robert Chisholm?
Well, listen, I mean, that's exactly why we introduced our motion, to give the Chief Electoral Officer the authority to be able to go forward and to do the kind of investigation that needs to be done, so that they don't have to go through the RCMP to get any particular authority. They can do it themselves, have the resources, and go about conducting their investigation. In fact, I introduced an amendment to that motion that we ensure that the Elections Canada are able to deal with the consequences of the 2011 election. You know, Dean himself said this is coming out, you know, there's a new riding every day. Absolutely. Canadians want to know that we're going to get to the bottom of this. And I for one, and certainly hope that Dean and his colleagues on the government benches will support not only our motion, but our amended motion, so that Elections Canada has the authority to begin to do this investigation properly and get to the bottom of it.
Well, it sounds like they are going to support it. If they don't put legislation into place, though, then what does your party do?
Well, we don't know if they're going to support it. They said in the House today that they were going to support the amendment, or sorry, they were going to support the motion. What they've not done is acknowledge that there's an amended motion that requires that Elections Canada would go back and deal with any matters arising from the 2011 election. So I'd like to know from Dean.
Okay, Dean, you're right here. Do you support the amendment too, so that's retroactive?
I think we've been, it's remarkable. I think we've been categorical on this. I think the Prime Minister was absolutely clear that we're going to support. We have no problem with this. Okay. No problem at all. We've provided far more transparency than any other party as well in our election return. So we have no problem with the motion. We have nothing to hide, and the motion requires specific actions. The government's indicated we have no problem with undertaking them. I think we've been categorically clear on this.
And you're going to bring in legislation?
We've been categorically. I think I just said that.
Perfect.
I'm not sure he said that part.
No,
but
he did.
John, your perspective on all of this?
Well, if you're going to launch an investigation, you look at motive and you look at means and you look at history. So the motive here was that the government was really keen on getting a majority. One of the easier ways to do it is suppress the other guy's vote. So that's your motive. Your means is that the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party is rolling in cash. So they do have the means, and they have the history. A couple of prorogations. You got the only party in the country that's ever been convicted of any offense under the Elections Act, and frankly, that's just the way the Conservatives play the game. So then you get, as soon as they get caught with their hands in the cookie jar, they say, oh, it's a big smear campaign. Well, I guess it's a smear campaign by 31,000 people. So you speak to the issue of, is there going to be more? Of coure there's going to be more.
Okay, let's let Dean respond to some of those.
Well, let me it's just going to roll itself out because, to speak to your original question, which is, I don't think we have actually got anywhere remotely close to the bottom of this, that there will be more. As the scandal continues to unfold, more people will say, well, gee, I got one of those calls too. And then they'll phone Elections Canada or whomever and try to and submit complaints.
Okay, I'll let you respond to some of those allegations directly.
Well, I believe firmly in the end the scandal will be that the opposition has carried out this unsubstantiated smear campaign.
31,000
and
people.
Whether or not they come forward and actually apologize when the facts come out will remain to be seen, because I know for a fact our party played, and I can categorically state we've done no such thing. I know that for a fact. And what I can also say is that of the 31,000 contacts, the Chief Electoral Officer said these folks have came forward because members of Parliament and political parties have called on them to do so. They're encouraging
even the media has said if you have a complaint, contact Elections Canada.
Yes, absolutely.
I wish we could stimulate 31,000 people.
Are you telling me that's not what the Chief Electoral Officer said in his report? Because I thought I read it and it was fairly clear. Maybe Mr. McKay hasn't read it, but that's specifically what the report says. The release that he put out last Friday.
Can I just go back to some of your language, because I think it's important. You say the Conservative Party is not aware, did not participate in any of this. You're speaking for the headquarters, for what the campaign headquarters knew and didn't know. Is that what you're saying?
Isn't that what the opposition is alleging? Some kind of sophisticated, coordinated system. That's what they're alleging. There is no evidence of that, none whatsoever. And in fact, if they're not alleging that the Conservative Party of Canada did it, who are they alleging? What I'm saying is, categorically, we've done no such thing, and there is no evidence of that.
Okay, go ahead, Robert.
Let me just say that, Canadians expect us to continue to push the Conservatives because they sat and watched for 5 years. Elections Canada were onto the government about the in-and-out scandal, about them inappropriately using money, moving funds around. Yeah. And they stood up in the House day after day after day and said, not us.
Both of your parties did the same thing.
We're lily white, and we didn't do anything wrong. And what happened 5 years later, after they spent nearly $2 million, after the Elections Canada spent nearly $2 million, they said, okay, you're right, we admit it, and here's $263,000.
That's not what we said. No, we said we followed the rules as we understood them, as outlined by Elections Canada. And we acknowledged an administrative disagreement with Elections Canada. They know that's the truth. And the NDP has also, very recently, had to return money to thousands of Canadians because they inappropriately tried to funnel money to the Broadband Institute, and that was only this fall.
And Conservative donors just had to...
If you run into situations where you do things that aren't right, you don't follow the rules, then you own up to it. You man up, Dean, and you pay the consequences, and you make sure that you don't do it again. What you guys did was you fought and spent millions of taxpayers' dollars as well as
Your donor
donors to the
dollars.
Conservative Party, in order to try to push the Elections Canada back.
John,
We're not
quickly, and
doing
then
that.
Dean.
Yeah,
No, we did nothing wrong, so
all you
we,
got to keep in
defended
mind is motive, means, and history. And the motive is quite clear what the motive would be. The means is pretty obvious at this stage. The history is there, as Robert has said. So you know, if it looks like a duck and talks like a
Hearsay and
duck,
speculation.
it is a duck. And
okay.
Smears
so
based on hearsay.
31,000 people are apparently smearing
Some of those
the
people don't
Conservative
even live
Party.
in Canada. Did you look at the list?
Well, I'm
So some
glad
of
to
these
hear you
people that
have
lived
looked at
in
the list.
foreign
Yeah.
countries have actually been contacted and encouraged not to vote in the
And
Canadian election. That's the Liberals' case.
31,000 of those 31,000
Ridiculous.
are
Okay,
are
I
people.
got to put you all on pause. I wish you a good weekend.
You too.
Please come back on Monday. Thanks
you
for
got it,
that.
Rosie. Yeah.
Parliamentary Secretary of the Prime Minister, Dean Mastro, NDP MP Robert Chisholm, and Liberal MP John McKay.